Ned Stark's older brother Brandon Stark played a big role in the prelude to Robert's rebellion. Brandon Stark was the heir of Rickard Stark, the Lord of Winterfell, and the older brother of Eddard, Lyanna, and Benjen Stark. He was killed by strangulation by the Mad King, when he protested the kidnapping of Lyanna by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. His father Rickard died along with him by wildfire. This brutal act triggered Robert's rebellion, the civil war that led to the removal of House Targaryen from the Iron Throne. Originally, Game of Thrones Season 1 was to feature a scene where the Mad King executes the Starks. It was filmed and put in the trailer, but they eventually decided to edit it out. Brandon was in appearance and character very different from Eddard. He had grey eyes and was tall and handsome. Brandon was absolutely not shy about taking what he wanted. He was rather hot-blooded, a trait their father, Lord Rickard, described as originating from the Wolf of Blood. Brandon shared this trait with his sister Lyanna, and Eddard believes this led them both to early deaths. Brandon was the best swordsman among his siblings, and an excellent jouster. He loved to hone his sword, preferring it to be as sharp as possible. He also loved to ride. Born in 262 AC at Winterfell, Brandon was the eldest son and heir of Lord Rickard and Lady Lyanna Stark. Rickard was the head of House Stark and Lord Paramount of the North, the Warden of the North, and head of House Stark until he was executed, along with his eldest son and heir Brandon by the Mad King Aerys II Targaryen. The North is one of the constituent regions of the Seven Kingdoms, and House Stark is one of the great houses of the realm. House Stark rules the region from their seat of Winterfell, and Rickard also held the title Lord of Winterfell. Rickard was the father of Brandon, Eddard, Lyanna, and Benjen Stark. Both Rickard Stark and the Mad King are grandfathers to Jon Snow. Rickard Stark served faithfully under King Aerys II. He was saved from drowning by Sir Arthur Dayne during the siege of White Harbor by the outlaw Sea Kings. He arranged for the betrothal of his daughter Lyanna Stark to Robert Baratheon, the Lord Paramount of the Stormlands. He also betrothed his son and heir Brandon Stark to Catelyn Tully, the daughter of Hoster Tully, Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. Both engagements were broken when Prince Rhaegar Targaryen abducted Lyanna. Brandon was fostered at Barrowton with Lord Dustin. He spent most of his time riding in the rills. His father betrothed him to Catelyn Tully of Riverrun, who considered him to be more handsome than his younger brother Eddard. Brandon did not want to marry Catelyn, but Lord Rickard's ambitions did not allow him to marry the daughter of a Northern bannerman. In 281 AC, Brandon was present at the tourney at Harrenhal. There he was introduced to the Cranogman Howland Reed by his sister Lyanna. During the opening feast of the tourney, Brandon asked Ashara Dayne, sister of Sir Arthur Dayne, to dance with Eddard, who was too shy to ask her himself. Brandon later entered the lists, but was unhorsed by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. After Prince Rhaegar won the tournament, he crowned Brandon's sister Lyanna as his Queen of Love and Beauty, passing over his own wife, Princess Aelia Martell. Brandon had to be restrained from confronting Rhaegar, as he took Rhaegar's action as a slight upon Lyanna's honor, since Lyanna had been betrothed to Lord Robert Baratheon for a long time. In 282 AC, Brandon was present at Riverrun, when the date for his wedding to Catelyn was announced. Petyr Baelish, the ward of Catelyn's father, Lord Hoster Tully, challenged Brandon to a duel for her hand. They fought in the lower bailey at Riverrun. Catelyn begged him to spare Petyr's life, and Brandon promised her to do so. Brandon armored himself for battle, aided by Catelyn's younger brother Edmure Tully, who served as Brandon's squire. When Brandon saw that Petyr wore only a helm and a breastplate and mail, he took off most of his own armor. Brandon was more than a match for the much younger Petyr. He offered the boy several chances to yield, but when Petyr kept refusing, Brandon ended the duel by injuring Petyr severely. He defeated Baelish easily, nearly disemboweling him in the process, but Catelyn begged Brandon to spare his life. The Maesters were able to save Baelish and he eventually recovered, but he was left with a deep scar, running from his stomach to his collarbone under his clothes, a token from Brandon that Baelish would always carry with him. Afterwards, he departed Riverrun, promising Catelyn to return soon so they could wed. From Riverrun, Brandon left to join his father's wedding party, coming down from the north. They were on their way again back to Riverrun for the wedding, when the word reached Brandon of Lyanna's supposed abduction by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. Brandon, along with his squire Ethan Glover, Kyle Royce, Albert Terrain and Jeffrey Mallister, rode to King's Landing immediately. Upon entering the Red Keep, Brandon shouted for Rhaegar to come out and die. Rhaegar was not present, however, and Brandon and his companions were arrested by King Aerys II Targaryen and charged with plotting Rhaegar's murder. Their fathers were called to court to answer the charges. Aerys II imprisoned Brandon and ordered that Rickard ride south to answer for his son's impertinence. Against advice, Rickard agreed, assuming that the matter would be settled through a trial or a bargain of some kind. Brandon was killed on the order of Aerys Targaryen, along with his father, after they protested the kidnapping of Lyanna by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. Brandon was placed in a strangle device from Tyrosh, with a long sword placed just out of reach. He was forced to watch as his father was burned alive in his own armor, and strangled himself while attempting to get to the sword so he could save his father. He was 20 years old at the time. Aerys then ordered Jon Arryn to hand over his ward, and the new Lord of Winterfell, Eddard Stark, as well as Robert Baratheon, Lord of the Storm's End. Having sworn a sacred oath to protect Eddard, Jon instead rose his banners in rebellion. He was supported by the North, Lyanna's betrothed Robert Baratheon and Hoster Tully. This sparked the beginning of the war known as Robert's Rebellion, which led to the near destruction of House Targaryen and its removal from the Iron Throne. Brandon was buried in the crypts beneath Winterfell. Although only the kings and lords of Winterfell normally have statues in their likeness placed beside their tombs, both Brandon and his sister Lyanna were given a statue by their brother Eddard, as he'd loved them very much. Eddard Stark named his second true-born son Brandon, affectionately known as Bran, in his elder brother's memory. Many stories we heard of, such as Brandon almost killing Littlefinger, the Mad King executing Brandon and his father Rickard Stark. Many battles we heard of, such as the Battle of the Trident, and the legendary duel between Robert and Rhaegar during Robert's Rebellion. All of that and more we'll finally see in the upcoming Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon, coming in 2022 on HBO. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.